afternoon. I'm behind the curtain today, guys. This is Gabe. I'll tape your buddy. It is Thursday. I want to say Friday. Who's ready for Friday? Jeez. February 24th. I am here with my daughter, Minnie, for father-daughter dance. I think it's episode 9. Not sure. And we have a great guest today from London. From what do we call it? Is it Merry Old London? Jolly Old London? I don't know. But we have Minnie, I'll tell you, and the great and wonderful
It's our first guest.
Yeah, our first guest on father-daughter dance. So I'm in the backstage, but I'll be commenting, cracking wise and all that because I'm working on Aaron Lepressi's Wraith of God, and I don't want to stop because I got a lot to do on it. So anyway, how are you two ladies doing today?
Very good. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Busy bee, but I'm fantastic. How are you doing, Minnie?
I am doing great. I have been doing stand-up this week, and I actually have a show this Sunday. So if anyone in San Diego, let me know. I will keep promoting it. I'm really excited.
Very good. Yeah, that's right. And this is a professional show, right?
Yes. And it's legit. Like tickets are being sold, 2-drink minimum.
Right.
There's going to be a couple other people besides the people that I originally took the class with that I'm super excited. So support. Right. Do what you can.
Stand-up comics. So yeah, yes. Amazing. So I guess Minnie's going to be in charge of things today. I'm going to give my kid the keys to the car and see what happens.
Hey, I've never, just so proof for the chat, I've never been in a reported car accident. So
there you go. Thank God. I remember the time someone, I'm not going to say this actually happened, but we were out in Oklahoma in a big field in the middle of nowhere. And someone gave, like middle school age kids the keys to the van and let them drive around so they could see what it was like. And then somebody's little brother really hit the gas. Nothing bad happened.
I was just thinking about that literally last night. It's crazy that you say that. Yeah, the very first car I drove with this big white van, and I was so excited. I was like 14. So of course, my 12-year-old brother, he was like, I want to drive it too. And he just like we went way too fast, way too far, and then we were done driving the car.
Right.
So yeah. What is it like over there?
What's London like? No, just kidding.
What's it like on the tube? No. What was it? I think they're in the chat, Cranberry Lingers. They were saying, I think it's them, that they are from the UK. And you guys call the train the tube, which I love. And you guys say Tuesday. And I'm sure that you're tired of Americans doing that, but it's so much fun.
You know what? Not really, because it wasn't until I started streaming that I realised, looking back at when I'm on streams, how bloody London I actually am when I talk. But I never notice it, right? People around me never notice it. But then when I'm listening on streams, I'm like, oh my God, you really do sound like you could just put a Victorian costume on and be in Mary Poppins or something, like it's actually quite hilarious. But I don't get fed up with it. And also the other thing is, even though we speak the same language, it's so fascinating talking to people in the States because you have different words for things and you have different punchlines to jokes. So I might say something and I'll be on a stream with someone, they'll go, what? If we don't understand what you're saying. And I'm like, oh, okay. So it's just little things like that. And your reference about the tube. The tube is the underground trains in London. All the other trains are just called trains, but it's because they literally run in tubes.
Oh, okay.
So they literally run in tunnels under the ground. That's why we nickname them the tube.
I go through the same thing when I watch old streams of myself. I'm like, I'm used to myself. I did not know how bloody handsome I was.
Okay.
Until I watch these streams. Even I get caught up in my own eyes.
I don't rewatch it because I just look at my face and I'm like, why am I making that face? Why? Like I doze off or like I just critique myself. I'm like, you know what? No, one take and that is it. And I will never watch it again.
Right. Minnie, do you want to look really quick at the chat and read some names?
Yeah, let's look at the chat. Sorry, guys. I'm in charge and I need to be on top of it. Also, let's see what everyone's doing. L.E. Muniz says Charlie's poppin'. I think I'm going to call you that from now on.
That's fine.
I love that. I love little nicknames. You guys are so cute. And everyone's saying hi. Cranberries, langers. Can you say that? I was going to say, can you say that in accent? The way you talk.
Which one? What would you like me to say?
Can you say cranberry langers, but in an English accent? Like American, American.
Cranberry langers. I think it's cranberry langers because we'd say L-A-N, lang, so langers.
Langers, I like that. 1 second. All right, everybody's just saying hi. And Dad, I'm just gonna be honest with you, I can't do pop out chat. It's not working on my computer. I know you showed me how to do it. It's not working. But yeah,
Shame.
it's fine. All right, but yeah, so I am a little bit familiar with Comicsgate. I know I should be more familiar since my dad is my dad, but I just hear like the big drama. So how long have you been a part of this, and like what is your favorite thing about it? Because I like, are you even in a part of it? Like that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. There's no denying that, and I wouldn't deny it anyway. But it's like it's
Disavow.
It's one of those. CG's a funny thing because you don't just wake up one morning and you're like, I'm going to join this movement today. You kind of just end up realizing that you've always been there. You just didn't know it existed. Just, and when people say to me, you're only thinking like that because you watch all these streams, acting like you've been indoctrinated into some horrible cult. And I'm like, you could take me out of CG tomorrow. You could plonk me in an island in the middle of nowhere. I would still have the same ideas and standards of life and thoughts and feelings if I didn't know any of these other people existed, because it's what makes me who I am.
Yeah,
so
okay. I like
it's not a that's not a thing to me. It's so easy for me. It's so easy to be part of this community because I don't have to think about being part of this community.
It's just who you are.
Just who I am, because I know for a fact I could go and watch something on the English news right now, not talk to any of the guys I talk to, like your dad and whatever, come back in a week's time, tell them about it, tell them my thoughts and feelings, not knowing what theirs are, and they will probably agree with me because we have the same ideas on how we see the world. So I've been around here about, it's coming up to nearly 4 years, I think. So it's about 2018. I think, I'm pretty sure it was. My husband has been around here longer than me. He was actually the person that got me.
Who's your husband?
Oh, stencil artist Jan, who is over in the corner on his laptop doing something.
Oh, okay, cool.
He's also part of, we've got our own little contingency of a group called CG UK, which is just Comicsgate UK, and we're not different to CG. It's just that we're all in the UK, so we literally just stream together and do things together. So he appears on streams and does that with me. And he runs his own ones on. He does his own thing, and he does stencil art. Like that's his thing. He does spray paint stencil art. So
wait a minute.
Awesome.
Is your husband Banksy?
No, he's not.
Breaking news right here on our show. Breaking news.
He's not. We do actually nickname him, which is funny because, like we say with CG UK, but we actually nickname him Yanksy, as in Yan and Banksy. But then we realised that we might not want to say that because Yank is a derogatory term for an American, and we don't want to upset CG normal CG.
What does it mean?
To be a Yank is just to be American. It's like we're a Brit.
Like a redneck kind of.
Like a
No,
Yankee.
I just think it comes from Yankee.
Yankee, duh. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It took me a second. I was like, what? A Yank. I like that though.
Yeah. Okay. So he does all of that stuff. He got me into it because what happened was one day we was out in London on a Sunday in London. They have these big comic markets, and they usually have them in like the big conference halls in hotels. If they're just, they're just selling the comics, whatever, not like a convention, it's just like a market.
Yeah.
And we went in there, and it used to be this massive room, and then all of a sudden it was just shrinking. It was just becoming just a small room. And I said to him, what's going on? He said, well, nobody's buying modern comics. They're all buying back issues of things. And that's all that there was old issues and old, like, collectors collecting old stuff. And we sat and we was having a coffee, and I said, like, the comic shops are just selling nothing but either manga or Funko Pops. The old markets are selling loads of old, like they're selling old issues. There's nothing, what's going on with this industry? Like, I've read comics since I was a kid. And he said to me, you heard of Comicsgate? And I said, what? And he showed me, and I started looking at the people that were tweeting and people on Twitter, and it's artists I'd grown up with. And I was like, I just started following a load of them, and I started getting involved and, realizing they did live streams and started hanging out in the chats and talking to people.
Oh, okay.
And that was it. I mean, a lot of people say the thing they nickname me is I'm the girl from the chat. I've come from the chat.
The girl from the chat. I love that.
I worked my way, into getting noticed and getting my ideas and stuff out there. And it's just, it's gone from that. And the truth is, if I can do it, anybody can do it, because all I did was just log on Twitter one day and started following people. And that's kind of That's it, really. I think that's probably the nutshell story of how I ended up here.
I also think as being girls, people are always shocked that like we agree with a lot of these ideas. I don't know, at least for me, like when I explain what Comicsgate is to like my friends, a lot of my friends are a little bit woke, but that's it's just it is what it is. But they're like, "What? Your dad's a father?" I'm like, yeah, and they're solid people. Like I wouldn't want a creepy dad. He's a normal dude. It's just it's a little we're
You wouldn't
tired of
want me to be
wokeness.
like a male feminist?
Ugh,
I
no.
just think every male feminist should have to wear a big watch on their chest, like a necklace with a giant countdown timer. What it's counting down is how long until they're revealed for some Me Too shit. If they're a male feminist, really, and you would just see the different numbers on the different male feminists. Like, damn, that guy's got 3 days left. Ugh. So,
Oh my gosh. Oh, yeah. Let's say hi to the chat really quick. Again, sorry guys, I can't pop out your chat because it's not my channel.
why can't
Sorry, but
yes,
I
you
will.
can. You're doing it wrong.
I'm clicking the sorry. I'm
Stop trying
clicking
to be
the
a
three.
father. You're
I
doing
know,
it
but
wrong.
it's like fixing the car with dad. You gave me the wrong tool. But but yeah, we'll say hi. Statistical Zero says hi everyone. Ellie Muniz says, what are some of Charlie's favorite comic runs? So
Ooh.
yeah, what do you like?
My favorite comic run of all time has to be The Walking Dead.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I did used to, when I was younger, I used to read like a lot of, Batman, Spider-Man, so on. But then because I was really studying hard and I fell out of doing things with comics, when I dipped my head above the parapet, I sort of got into odd runs and like little bits and pieces. But the one that always stands out to me is The Walking Dead. The only other ones I really massively collected when I was younger, believe it or not, was the Topps X-Files comics, which I still have all of them.
Dad likes,
yeah, they were some amazing ones. But I've really if the one that stands out to me the most that I loved that is The Walking Dead. I've got every single one of the hard copies of that, and I really hate the show because they strayed so far away from what the actual comic was doing. But yeah, apart from your traditional like Spider-Man, Superman, and stuff like that, X-Men. I used to read a lot of X-Men when I was younger, actually. And I can't think off the top of my head what was my favourite one, but I do remember Mum bought me one, and it was when Jean Grey turns into the Phoenix.
Oh, the Dark Phoenix saga by
and I do remember that I kept that so pristine, and I think it's still in their attic, one of those copies, because I actually was like, I love this work, I love this, all the artwork on this book, and I couldn't have been any older than about 11 or 12 when that came out, I think.
Wow. It'd be really interesting to see.
Mm.
So where you are, you don't call it a cookie, you call them biscuits.
I do what I mean?
Biscuits, what we call biscuits, you call like scones or whatever.
What do they call a scone then?
I don't know. But biscuits and gravy is a famous American breakfast, and that always weirds out people from England. Biscuits and gravy is so delicious.
It's so good.
What weirds you guys out is the fact that we have baked beans for breakfast.
That's like a Mexican thing.
We have beans. Yeah, we're half Mexican, so we'll have beans with our breakfast. But you're right, Charlie. Most Americans don't have beans at breakfast.
No,
I agree with you. No, beans and rice with like some eggs and chorizo and tortillas. It's really good. Delicious. Do you know any of those foods I named?
Yeah. I mean, past Master Dan in the chat. It's like beans on toast is a really classic one that we have.
But the reason I brought that up is I wonder if there are differences between American and British comics insofar as when it was published here, the hero was called this or whatever, and then when they published it over there, it was different. Because I know, like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
That's one I was just about to talk to you about.
In England, they're called Teenage Mutant Hero Turtles or something.
Yeah.
Because ninja was too violent or something,
Really?
No, it's because we had really big problems with organized crime with the triads in the 80s.
You have literal ninjas running around London.
Are you serious? It was like an 80s movie?
So because it was such a huge run over here, like the Teenage Mutant Hero Turtles was massive, that they was just really worried that it was going to be exposing children to, not in a woke way, in a genuine, like, we don't even want kids to associate being a ninja. Because, I remember being at school, we used to go to karate classes after school, and they were all about self-defense. But they didn't want you to think that now, with what was going on with the triads and this running around, and then there was the turtles, and then there was self-defense. They didn't want to confuse it. with having these kids like basically learning these moves and then going and kicking someone's backside. So they changed it to Teenage Mutant Hero Turtles, and my understanding is, to a really hardcore Turtles collector, British merchandise is really, really rare because of the fact that all the branding is different. Yeah,
I was gonna say it's only in the UK. They don't have that in America, so it must sell really well. Sorry, go ahead.
Like, I think I've still got loads of mine, because that's another thing. I was never really into girls' toys either. I had the Turtles, I had Thundercats, I had Star Wars. I mean, I had a T-shirt once that said, "The only time I had a Barbie was when my turtles needed bitches." That was a T-shirt that I had. Right? And to be fair, I think it's probably true, because I don't ever remember.
Did you like April? Were you a fan of April?
Yeah, exactly. In fact, I had an April O'Neil doll, and I just remember being like, Barbies are boring. Like, why? I was just like, why do I want to dress this doll? Like, I'd rather just make a ramp and throw my turtles down it, or something like that. But I remember my mum, like, it was so big over here, you couldn't get the toys, and I remember her going to so many different toy shops to try to find them.
That's a good mom.
This is a really funny story. She couldn't find them. She's going to kill me when she knows I've told this story. We used to have, I don't think you guys have them in the States, matey, like a bubble bath, and they're in shapes. So for example, they had Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle shaped bubble baths, and the head's screwed off.
Yeah, I had that when I was a kid. I had a Princess Leia.
So Mum made a point of finding every turtle of these bubble baths, because she was like, look, you've got these to play with till I can actually find you the real ones. She didn't actually find me the real, but it was they were my thing. I ended up in hospital because of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I'll just tell you that one.
She joined the triads, and she got hurt in one of their.
She was in charge of
Yeah, I'm actually in hiding. Charlie's London is my name because I'm in witness protection. That's the truth.
Yeah, that's actually a wig and a mask. She's actually a 47-year-old Japanese man.
Exactly. No, what happened was, as every 6 or 7-year-old thinks they're real, of course they're real. So Mum and Dad had said to me, for your birthday, you can have a Pizza Hut party. Remember Pizza Hut parties when you were little? It was like going to having a McDonald's party. They were like all the
big deal. Yeah,
I think it would be like Chuck E. Cheese, right? You would go to the Pizza Hut, and there'd be like
there used to be Pizza Hut restaurants, and you would like sit and have a buffet, and they don't exist anymore.
Yeah, it was an unlimited salad and pizza buffet.
Yeah, we still have them over here, but only in limited places. Like big shopping malls will have something like that. We do still have the restaurants.
I'm moving to the UK. Sorry, continue.
So my mum said to me, you can have a Pizza Hut party. So I said to her, I must have been bugging her, and she just answered. I said, can I invite the turtles? She's like, yeah, do what you want, right? Like that. I must have been bugging her about something. So we're walking along the street, and every like hubcap, not hubcap.
The sewer covers.
They're
manhole covers. Yeah,
manhole covers. That's why did I say hubcap? I'm talking to it, going, if you're down there, will you come to my party? I convinced myself that if I spoke to every single one, they'd hear me, right? Well, I didn't realise that I was walking straight into a lamppost, hit my head, and ended up in hospital with concussion because I smacked my head on the lamppost that hard while talking to this manhole cover. And that was.
That was a fun birthday. Did they come visit you dressed up in suits, like at the hospital? Happy birthday!
No, but many years later, I went to Universal Studios. No, was it MGM? They were performing there anyway. There were people dressed up as them. And I had my picture taken with them purely for nostalgia, because by that time I was like 16. But
so wait, it was people dressed up, not the real turtles?
No, it was people dressed up. But they had the outfits on that were from the original film. So I think they had not the actual ones, but obviously replicas of those. And it turns out many years later, I was reading a random article in some magazine when I was sitting, I think, in the dentist's waiting to go in or something. And 4 of the 5 Backstreet Boys started their career dressed up as Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles for Disney or Universal, wherever it was. And I thought, wow, they could have been under those suits the whole time. I could have been stood next to the Backstreet Boys.
Been with that. You could have. What was his name?
Wasn't it like Lance and Justin Timberlake and all
that?
Yeah,
I was saying you could have been with like, what is it, like ramen noodle hair Justin Timberlake. I love that.
Can you imagine? That'd be so funny. But yeah, so that's the crazy things that I got up to as a child, and people wonder why I'm not normal now. I just hit my head on, sewer covers and whatever, and it's just what it is.
I would have loved if like you hit your head and then you like talked like Donatello. No, Michelangelo.
Oh, who was your favorite turtle? Who was it?
Yeah, Michelangelo. It was always Michelangelo.
He was a radical party dude, man.
That's what I was going to ask. Did they have like the same American accents they have here?
Oh my gosh, we got to stop Shredder. He's getting
crazy. That's what I was going to say. Like,
there he is.
Cheese pizza.
There's the blinker right there.
Of Nicki Minaj doing an impression of Adele.
Oh my gosh, no! I love Nicki Minaj. Are you a Nicki fan?
She's talking like Nicki Minaj, so Nicki Minaj is talking like Adele. So she's not singing; she's talking like her. And I watched it, and I was like, "My God!" Like that's actually what people from London actually sound like.
It was good. It was.
My God! You got to do this on the air, though, Charlie. Before you came on, I said you could do an American accent, and the dialogue I gave you was, "I would like a fully automatic semi-automatic cheeseburger. That's my right as an American." So go ahead.
Can you say that?
Semi-automatic cheeseburger. It's my right as an American. That's what you want me to say in an American accent.
Yeah, as American as possible. Semi-automatic cheeseburger.
I want a semi-automatic cheeseburger. It's my right as an American citizen.
That was so good.
Everything sounds like I'm auditioning for a part in JFK when I say anything. Like, I think it's just because I watched that. I've seen that film so many times. It's like, all I want to say back and to the left all the time. That's how it works.
Right. Oh goodness.
Okay, Charlie. There's a couple questions for you. Let's see. Someone asked.
You gotta read their name, hon. You gotta read their name.
Someone. Okay, Luna Comics said, Charlie, do they have UK terms for woke and non-woke people? And then Pasta Master said, how did you and Yan meet?
Yes, woke and unwoke is the same here.
Oh, it's the same.
It's pretty much the same definition as well. Pretty much stands for exactly the same thing. How did we meet? We actually met on a dating app. And
what
then
app?
Yeah, we met on a dating app. I do you know what? I got to my 30s and I was like, I've done all the career stuff. I haven't been in a relationship for a while. My friends just kept bugging me to go on a date. And I was like, I just can't be bothered. And then I was like, okay, this guy seems quite nice. And we met up. And it was just, for both of us, I think it was a bit like we were both bewildered because we'd both never really done this before. And then that was it. The rest was history. And that was 5 years ago.
And that app was called Teenage Mutant Hero Turtle Loversonly.com.
I love that.
That was the app. I'm glad I butchered the punchline there. That was good.
That made it better.
That made it better that I fumbled my own punchline.
Sadly, it wasn't anything lovely and romantic to do with comics. I didn't meet him across a crowded convention or anything like that. But we do share all that stuff together, which is nice.
If you guys was like a Hugh Grant movie from like 15 years ago, he would have helped you off the ground after you hit your head on the pole looking for Ninja Turtles. If this was some horrible rom-com, he would have helped you.
You're looking for them too? I haven't found them.
They're underneath this bloody one down here.
You're such a good sport.
Poor little girl. She's looking all over London, doesn't realize the Ninja Turtles live in New York City.
That would just be my life, though. Really, that'd be the way that it works. Really.
Well, go ahead. What was the other question, though, hon?
Oh no, those were the two. I'm just going to keep asking them. What reactions? Okay, Pasta Master said, "What reactions do you get when you tell others you write comics?"
Well, nothing bad, actually. In fact, my school, because I'm a history teacher, my school have been like ridiculously massively promote when they found this out, and they couldn't believe I'd kept it so quiet, only because it's got, not for any other reason than it's got nothing to do with work. And sometimes people get really funny about you doing too much out of work and all this stuff, and plus sometimes so they were like all over it. They was like, you've got to bring copies in. The kids were saying, if we buy one, will you sign it, and all this sort of stuff. So it's been really nice. They actually really like it. It's a thing of intrigue for them, because they often see you as a teacher like you're older and you don't understand them and you're not in tune with them. And then when they like, oh, you're interested in comics, and then you're interested in the sort of this side of stuff, and you've got a comic, they're like, wow, that's pretty cool. So yeah, it's good. So John says, if Charlie's thought her accent was not that British before streaming, can she talk as she thought a British accent did sound? No, I think what I meant was I didn't realise how London I sounded. Obviously, I know I sounded quite English, but I didn't realise how like my dialect, my accent.
Is it a dialect? Is that what it is? Like there's different parts? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah. And I think I've just never really thought, my God, your accent's really strong. Like I just didn't ever think of it like that way before.
Okay. Yeah, because I know, okay, so I know in like the States, that sounds so weird for me to say. In the States, we have like West Coast, we have like a New York accent, we have like Southerner. So you guys have like your own little versions of that over in the UK then, like you guys.
Yeah, even down to London. You could, like, for example, I'm from South London.
Okay.
If I meet an East Londoner, I know exactly they're from East London because they will say certain words different.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy. That's so cool.
Yeah, there's loads of accents in the UK. People think because we're small, we can't be. But there are, like, I know, I can straight away know. It's like I live outside of London now. And even the 20 miles outside of London I am, the accent is totally different. Like my brother, who is 11 years younger than me, he was born in a hospital outside of London. I was born in a hospital inside London. For the first 6 years of my life, I lived in deep inner London, like literally the centre of London. My accent is totally different to my brother's. We've got the same parents, everything. It's just that where we were born and brought up left totally different marks on who we are.
I love that. Oh, that's so cool. I didn't even dialect because okay, I don't know if this sounds super American, but when I think of dialects, I just think of like China. That's the first place I think of because they have like 50 different ones all from one language. That's just so freaking cool. Oh my gosh, I love that. I love having an international guest. Okay. All right, let's talk to the chat some more, even though I'm a boomer with the chat. John says dialects can be different from almost block to block in London, right? Yeah, you basically said like even like 20 miles. That's crazy. Okay, let's see. What does everyone see? The act of peppermint oil capsule. Like, oh, Dad, you switched it. Okay.
Sorry.
Peppermint oil capsule says the accent in England changes every 10 miles. Long story, but I have proof. I like that. Do you know why that is? Because you're a history. Is it just the way people migrate different places?
Yeah, it's how different people migrated there. It's the same, I think, as well with different parts of Australia. When a lot of people went from Britain to Australia, that different parts where they went from, they went to a certain place and then they took parts of that accent with them, and as it evolved, mixing in with the local dialects, it just became the way it was. But what I find really weird is my accent can change. So, for example, if I'm around my dad's family, and my dad's family's Turkish and they live in South London, but they all speak with this weird Turkish twang, I end up speaking with the same. I can't put it on for you now because I don't even know that I'm doing it.
Oh, okay.
I don't even know that I'm doing it. And then when I'm sort of talking on streams or I'm at work, I'm like this. But
I was talking about wallabies and kangaroos. and that. What else is in Australia?
It's really, really weird.
On the bobby. Yeah. Justice for Steve. But that's really cool. What was I gonna say? You know, it's funny though that you say you don't even realize that you're doing it, because I know, like, if I hang out with my friends that like speak Spanish, I kind of catch myself. Do you know what Spanglish is? Do you know what that is?
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
Okay. So like I'll be like, pero like, and I never talk like that. Like I did not grow up like that at all. But like you just kind of start subconsciously doing it. I don't know if it's like a fitting in kind of thing, but it's fun.
Yeah,
so.
I don't know.
My dad does it. My dad does it. If he's on the phone to his sister, and they're Turkish, like they're full Turkish, but they've lived here since they were like 10 and 11. He'll be talking in Turkish 1 minute, a full-blown conversation, and he'll suddenly say, "Do you know what I'm saying?" in English, and then go back to talking Turkish again. And it's like,
all right.
What were you gonna say, Dad?
I was just gonna tell her about that Mexican American accent. You're talking about that East LA kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it's very slight. You can definitely hear it when you hear it, but there's a way that the Mexican girls with that whole Southwestern American Mexican accent speak. It's actually pretty charming. It's pretty funny. And remember those girls that were asking you about your hair in high school if it was real?
My very first. Okay, so I have very long curly hair. And I always get lots of compliments on it. And the very first day of high school, these super Mexican girls, because like I'm Mexican, but they were like super Mexican. They came up to me and they're like, "Oh my God, I like your hair." And then they grabbed it and they go, "Are these extensions?" And they went like this. And I was like, "No, it's my real hair." But I was like 14, a baby, and like these girls, they were all scary because they're older, but they're like, "These extensions?" I was like, "What is going on?" But yeah. And
that reminds me of my brother was in a nightclub once, and my brother is the spitting image. He's a cross between Adam Driver and Russell Brand to look at. Like that's literally, and that's not an exaggeration at all, right? But half my family's Jewish on my mum's side, and my dad's side is all Turkish. So my brother's got what is traditionally known as the Jew fro, where it all goes like, So if he's not careful with the back of his hair and he has to really look after it, he will naturally develop dreadlocks.
Oh, okay.
And once he just thought, I'm just going to let them grow and see what happens. So he just left it, and it started to form these dreadlocks. And he was in a nightclub, and this girl got really annoyed with him. She was a white girl, so I don't know why she got so annoyed. But she started accusing him of cultural appropriation. And you've got dreadlocks. You're a white boy. And he's like, I didn't have these put in my hair. They are my hair. And she was like trying to pull them to see where he'd had them done. And he was like, I haven't had them done. These are my hair.
Why is she touching him? People have no boundaries.
He came home, and I was like, why are you not angry when you're telling me this story? Why are you laughing? He'd be like, because it's just so ridiculous. This girl thought that I was culturally appropriated when it's just my hair.
I like how she's complaining at a nightclub, like she's not probably full of alcohol and coked up. Like, oh my God, you're a bad person. It's like, where are your morals? But
exactly.
Yeah. Teflon Ron says, have you told Charlie's London any LA stories? I can tell you a couple stories. I don't know how much you know about me, but I did stand up from 16 to 18. Then I sort of did it 18 to 22. And I lived in LA for about 14 months from 21 to 22. And now I'm doing it like 6 nights a week. I went through a really bad breakup and decided to be funny again. But yeah, I lived in LA for 14 months. And I don't know if you've ever been there, but it is the most insane city. You're not missing out. I know like maybe you'll want to go once before you die, maybe, but like I lived there for 14 months and it was insane. I worked at a coffee shop, like in a grocery store. And I also worked at the Comedy Store as like a kitchen person. I always smelled like potatoes after my shift, but just like life was so crazy there. But I also had like a ton of fun. Trying to think of like all the things I've told the chat because I've told them some pretty good stories. Dad, is there any stories that come to mind to you right now? One time I saw a cockroach eating another cockroach, and I was like, that's a metaphor for the city. But it was like on
funny.
No, really, I thought that I was like I used to have to work like the opening shift at Starbucks, and I hated it because it was like at 4:00 and I wouldn't be able to sleep because I was scared I was going to sleep through my shift. So I'm walking to my car at 3:30 in the morning, which is not safe to do in LA. But then I saw those roaches and I was like, oh, that's the city. But yeah, it was super interesting and weird. But geez, I'm drawing a blank right now. Oh no. I worked at the Comedy Store and there were always lots of celebrities and it was really cool.
Hold on. You gotta tell her what the Comedy Store is. She's in Joliet, England.
They have one in
we've got one in Covent Garden, so I know what it is. I think it's the same company.
Yeah, it's like their sister store over there. It's it's a big deal. So
I've been there a couple of times. Yeah.
Right. But it's like the Comedy Store is like Jerry Seinfeld and Richard Pryor and all the greats. Like this is the comedy club, I would say, of the world, not just the States.
Yeah, I would say. Yeah, anyone that's like into real stand-up comedy knows about that. I got to meet so many cool people. I've met like Rogan, Chappelle. I've seen Dane Cook. They're all really cool. But sorry, because you were talking about a club earlier. And I brought up cocaine. There's green rooms in the comedy club, like where the celebrities can hang out. And do you know who Richard Pryor is?
Oh yeah, God. Yeah.
Okay, sorry. I feel really like dumb asking. I'm like, what does she know about America? But I don't know.
You know what America is?
Do you know what the best country in the world? No, I'm just joking. But so there is a glass piano in one of the green rooms at the Comedy Store. It's this tiny little glass piano, probably no bigger than like a little laptop. And it belonged to Richard Pryor. And I mean, there's not really a story about it, but like, I guess everyone does cocaine off of it. And when I saw that, I was just like, Like I got really, really scared. I don't know. I felt like such a child in Hollywood, even though I was like drugs. Like I was like afraid. But yeah, that was really cool. You know Jimmy Carr because you're yeah, he was there a couple of times. I really, really liked seeing him. His hair is super black. That man must buy so much dye. But
yeah, they're trying to cancel him at the moment. I will be honest and say that I think his joke about the Holocaust was probably a little bit too close to the mark.
I didn't even see it. What did
you know what you should never do? Repeat that joke on stupid YouTube's thing.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say when I was, I'm like, no.
Don't worry, Gabe. That's where I was going to stop it. But I was.
That's what we should never do is give YouTube
no, because they are actually it's a bit of a hot topic. But I did watch it a little bit. But then saying that though, that's British humour. British humour is very gallows humour, as you know, like it's very dark humour. I mean,
where do you think that comes from? Where does that dryness, that darkness, where does that all come from?
It's a really good question. I would probably say because so many comedians have come from working class backgrounds and they've grown up with such bleakness. They've had to make their own entertainment, and one of the things you make your own entertainment is by laughing at your situation, or you go mad. Is the only thing I can think of it would be, you know, like
I love that. You go mad. Okay.
I think that's probably, and I think that the reason that's something that resonates with me a lot at the moment is because I've been following this story about what Amazon's doing with Lord of the Rings, and you know, I'm a big my big period of history is the First World War, and when I know about Tolkien and that he served, and I know that he wrote it as a way to stop himself, his brain submitting to shell shock. It was to get out the neurosis that was shell shock. And so when I see that he wrote this, and he wrote this fantastical world and this beautifully written piece as a way to stop him seeing the horrors of something around him. So it's not necessarily gallows humor, but it's definitely another form of escape. And I think the creative arts are a form of escape, and they always should be. And I think that's where a lot of modern pop culture is going wrong, because they don't see that this beautiful art form is meant to be escape.
Yeah, it's a coping mechanism.
Yes, exactly. They're shoehorning everything into it because they want it to be woke and they want it to be current, but they don't realize that by not being current, they're actually going to leave their mark, because people will be able to pick it up and know when it was written without needing to know when it was written. Or when it was told, or when it was. It's insane, really, the way that they do this. But yeah, that's just my opinion.
No, I think you're right, because I think the funniest comics, like they talk about the most like true or like their deepest hurts, and I always think it's funny, because they find something that like they need to learn how to cope with, and they just tweak it a little bit, and then everybody's happy. So
well, funnily enough, like as your dad knows, the comic I did was on Charlie Chaplin, so that was one of the most famous comedians in the world. But he's not a lot of most of the modern generation, the younger generation, don't know him from his silent films. They know him from the speech from the Great Dictator. And every time there's a major event that happens around the world, whatever it is, it gets shared. That speech gets shared, and you think that was made in 1941 by a comedian, yet it resonates more with people than something that a politician has written. Like just sentences like "dictators free themselves, but they enslave the people," more than "machinery, we need kindness," and "we think too much and we feel too little." These are all lines from it. And you're talking about art and culture and comedy. That's a classic thing. We are thinking too much about the world when we should be feeling the world. The world is everything. It's not just what we can write down.
Oh, I love that. Jeez, I was so excited I knocked my microphone over. No, I love that. And I agree with you. I think that as someone that does comedy themselves, I don't think people realize how deep it is. Like, yeah, it's jokes and it's lighthearted, but it's so much more than that. And I see that in the art too, that not just my dad's, but like in the other campaigns that I see, it's like these are people's lives. And I think I take it a lot more serious, but I think if my dad wasn't my dad, I wouldn't. But I totally agree with you. It's just like it's somebody's heart, it's their soul. It's beautiful.
One of the reasons I reached out to your dad and was like, let's do a stream, was because when I'd seen him talking on streams, I really felt the passion that he feels. Like, I always worry when I come on a stream and I'm super passionate. I always end up going on a bit of a talk and then apologizing and being like, I'm really sorry that I went on and ranted there, because I forget sometimes that your passion can feel to some people a little overpowering. So, but when I saw your dad on a stream, I was like, this guy gets me, and I get totally how he's talking about things, because, you know, when he was saying about his family background and I was talking to him about my family background, it was just so like this, and it was literally like just an amazing moment to have. And when we did the stream on my channel, when we was talking about these things before he launched his book, I was just like, wow, this is stuff that I know that the chat was really loving to hear. And it's what I love about it is people want to clip our streams. They want to claim that CG is a certain way, right?
Yeah, but they want to make accusations.
If they was to have helicoptered into that stream and was to have been in the chat and was trying to clip things, all they would have got is two super passionate people that are thankful and proud for the countries that gave their family refuge so they are still alive. What's wrong with that? What's wrong with that? Like, that's 100% the truth about both of our family histories for different reasons. So we're actually more people that can stand there and go, I love my country, I will fight for my country, and I'll fight for everybody in my country, because your stories are all reflective of each other's. But the woke brigade don't want you to see that. They want you to be continuously apologetic for things that you have no control over. Well,
that's crazy.
That's insane to me. I'm not going to apologize for things that happened 200-300 years ago, because I didn't do them. So I wasn't even. Things I actually do wrong. So I'm not going to apologize for somebody else's.
No, I completely agree with that, and it's crazy. I don't know. I feel like as a young, like, I don't know, I'm about to turn 25, and like everyone around me thinks like woke, and it's insane to me. And not that like I'm like super hardcore or anything, but it's just like you have like the slightly different wrong opinion. It's just like, and it's just like, oh my goodness, dude, I just want to tell jokes. Like, leave. Like, I made a joke about like gas prices, and like it was dead silent in the crowd. I was like, all right, cool. Like, lots of Democrats in the crowd. Like, it's just like, I'm just being lighthearted, but it's just like, and that joke would have killed in the South or like in Florida or something. But
what was it? I know you don't have an audience here, so jokes don't hit as much when you don't have a live audience in person. But what was it? I'm curious.
Oh, I was doing like an impersonation of Kamala Harris. It's not appropriate. I'm not going to do it on the stream, but don't want to upset my dad. I was doing an impersonation of Kamala Harris.
We did it, Joe. We did it, Joe.
Oh yeah, I forgot that. We did it. You're going to be the next president of the United States. It's not that, but yeah,
I was just thinking he's asleep during the Ukraine invasion stuff. That's good. I hope he gets his rest.
I know, but
anyway, go ahead.
I was just being inappropriate, and then I made a joke about gas prices, and it was just like crickets, like nobody was having it, and I was just like, ugh. And then it was, my friend was joking, but they were like, give it up for the Republican comic mini, and I was like, gosh, don't say that, no one's gonna book me. So
there was so I teach 11 to 18-year-olds, and the 18-year-olds they're doing a course called the Authoritarian States. So they actually look at different dictatorships, and then their final assessment is to compare to from different time frames. So at the moment we're looking at Cuba and looking at Castro and looking at the Cuban Missile Crisis and stuff like that.
Justin Trudeau's dad?
Pardon? Yeah. And
I love conspiracy theories. Sorry, I could go.
There's two boys in my class. One is like super woke. I mean, so woke he wants to argue about anything. And the other boy is not particularly conservative, but he's a real wind up. Like he wants to crank and you can see like in his eyes he's got a glint of mischief. And he continuously says in front of this boy how much he loves Trump, how much if he was America he would have voted for Trump. I don't know if this is true or not, but I can see
reaction.
he's winking at me when he's like talking about this in class, and I'm like, you are such a wind up because you're just doing it to you want to see this boy just like explode. You're trying to trigger him on purpose, and he's just constantly pushing his buttons. And I do sometimes have to walk out the class and pretend I'm getting something from the photocopier just to laugh, because I can see what's going on, and it's, you know, it's quite funny actually.
I
What
love
the hell
that.
was a Republican comic? We had no.
I'm not. They were just roasting me. It's because I also talk about my grandpa like escaping from
Mhm,
Libya and like Gaddafi. And so
mhm.
they just tease me, which I actually don't care. But I know that like if some certain person hears it, they're gonna be like, what is going on? This woman of color doesn't agree with me. She's like, oh my gosh, just let me do my jokes. Leave me
Right.
alone.
Oh, you always have to have a real nice fuck off chamber for people like that. And you don't pay any attention to them. You just do what you're doing and be better than them and move forward. You know what I mean? Don't even fight with them.
Solid
Uh,
dad advice.
yeah, pray for your enemies. Just forget them, move forward. You know?
I do have to say though, you telling that story, I guess the terms that you use
A real
totally made
wind
sense.
up, right?
Yeah,
I
a
love
wind
that.
up,
I love that.
and you said a real, I think you just said he was just a real mischief. Is that just a I know what getting into
Mm,
mischief is, but do you guys just say that word as like a noun? Like, "Oh, he's a real mischief." Like, that's what that
yeah,
means? Or is it
yeah, or he's a mischief maker or something like that. You're a
Oh,
real
I like
wind
that.
up. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, we do,
I
you
like
know.
that.
Um,
But we're giving
so
you a hard time about the idioms in England.
No, I'm really
What? No,
interested.
no,
It's cool.
hold on. There was a second half to that sentence. What are American idioms that blow your mind, Charlie?
Oh, yeah, like, what is weird to you about the way we
If
speak?
you don't know what I mean by blow your mind, if that's one of the idioms, what are American idioms that are like, why
Our
do they
sayings,
say
what
that?
sayings are weird to you?
I was,
Yeah.
do you know what? Not much, because I can sort of work my way around it. And I think it's because from a very early age, we had a lot more American TV than you guys would have had maybe English TV. So I think he
Okay.
was much more used to your idioms than you maybe were to ours. Why they say aluminium? Oh, aluminum and
Oh,
oregano.
aluminium, I love that.
Yeah, and oregano. That's something that we
Oregano.
never quite. Yeah, because we say oregano. We
Oh,
don't.
they also
Ooh.
say they say herbs instead of
Yeah,
herbs.
herbs. Yeah, yeah. So we
Mm.
say herbs, but again, I don't really notice them because I've always watched American TV. So I just treat it like, okay, if I was to say that, you'd know what I meant, and if I would, vice versa. But I know that when we went to the States when I was at school, there is a particular derogatory term for a gay person now, beginning with F. Let's just say,
Oh, yeah, for
yeah.
cigarettes.
But over here, yeah, it means cigarette. And my dad actually went up to somebody at a bar and said, "Do you sell any blah?" And they thought my dad was trying to get a male prostitute. So he was like, "We don't do that sort of thing in here, sir." And he was like, "It's just," and he didn't
So what?
understand.
It's just a little harmless fun. I mean, come
Yeah,
on. It's how I relax. Come on.
yeah, yeah.
I know
But then
you got some behind the counter. Let me see.
he came back over to the table, went to my mum. I don't know why I offended them so much. And then my mum went over and she said, like, "Can I just ask what my husband said?" And the guy, I think, was like, "Am I going to out her husband? Like, what's going on?" And then he
And
he said
woman,
it very he said it very sheepishly, and my mum went, "Oh no, because in Britain that just means cigarettes." And he went, "Oh, thank God for that." Like you could see he was like, "Am I going to be breaking up a marriage by saying this stuff?" And other things like you say fanny pack for we call them a bum bag, like the things you used to have in the 80s, because like fanny pack would mean so much different over here than it does to you guys.
Oh, that's what I've heard. Yeah, fanny means something different. But a bum pack, it sounds like you guys have it around your booty.
Yeah, bum bag. Yeah, it's called bum
Mm.
bag. I don't know. It wasn't a fashion trend I had for very long. Let's put it
And
that way.
I think my favorite is oregano though, because that sounds oregano. That sounds Italian.
Yeah, well, it is Italian, isn't it? It's Italian herb,
Yeah.
but also I think maybe to some people it sounds too much like origami, which is
Oh
what.
yeah.
Yeah,
Multicultural. I like it.
yeah, that's what it is. But other than that, I don't think so. I don't think so. But I do notice that we say things a lot that Americans, like you guys, are like, I don't what? Don't understand, especially Cockney rhyming slang. And then John
oh,
saying yeah, lift and flat. I have to remember when I'm talking about my home to some guys I'm streaming with them in the States, I have to call it an apartment. Because if I say a flat, they're like, what's that? Oh, it's where I live.
I learned that term from Reddit. They're like, I'm renting a flat for like, it was like 400, and then it was like the euro thing. And I was like, what the hell is that? I had to Google it. But no, I
how
love
does
you
the
guys.
Cockney rhyming slang work? I've seen it
Yeah.
on a TV show as a plot point, and it was very bizarre.
Can you do it?
So Cockney rhyming slang is just taking two words that rhyme, that when you that they rhyme with the word that they're really meant to mean, like apples and pears is stairs.
So use that in a sentence, like I'm gonna go up the apples and pears.
I'm gonna go up the apples and pears because I want to smash him in his boat race.
I want to punch him in his face.
Yeah.
Hey,
Where in the hell did that come from?
I like that.
I think it originally came from people trying to disguise what they were going to say.
They're trying
Like,
to
you must have heard, like,
I'm gonna go Bob the Tank.
there were some other favourites. Yes, you got boat race, apples and pears. I'm trying to think what other ones you've got. Now I've drawn a blank myself, but I'm sure in the chat that trouble and strife is your wife. That's another one.
I like that.
So, convict chatter. Yeah, it is
true. Yeah, peppermint oil capsule. You're right. I agree with that.
Yeah, it is. And also, it's if you've ever watched things like Peaky Blinders and shows like that,
I've been told to watch that.
They use a lot of that as well. And the one that's really I was talking about it on Andy Smith's show last night is that often they had something called back slang or pig Latin, which is where they used to switch words around. So in if you ever heard the phrase yob, someone's a yob, it means that they're a bit of a scumbag, they're a bit of a waster. And all it is though is that traditionally boys were seen to be, the ones that would cause the trouble, and they would be the ones that would be fighting in the street. So all that yob means is boy backwards. That's all it is.
Oh, that's clever. I was going to ask how to spell it.
Yeah, so they literally just switch letters around. So it's quite mad. That's what I'm saying. Like, it's like a whole new language. It's crazy.
I like that though. It's sneaky. It is convict chatter. I like that.
Yeah, it is. It is. It really is. It's code. It's just a code, isn't it?
It's like a secret way to talk. Wow, God, that's creative as hell. Well, Dad, we've almost been doing this for an hour. I love chatting. I love it. But
In it.
Yeah, I was gonna ask Charlie if it would be a problem if you say it's Tuesday in me.
It's Tuesday, isn't it?
Yes, it's Tuesday.
She's gonna ride the tube on a Tuesday.
I'm gonna ride the tube on a bloody Tuesday.
There you go. And tube starting with the
we're supposed to blow the bloody doors off. That's the other one people get me to always do as well. Bit of Michael Caine, who actually is a South London boy. So Michael Caine grew up. Two very famous people grew up, literally, apart from Charlie Chaplin, but grew up round the corner from where I was born, and that's Michael Caine and Gary Oldman, who I love both of them. Yeah,
awesome.
Gary Oldman's them. When he won the Oscar for Darkest Hour, I was like, yes. Like when I woke up the next morning and actually found that he'd won that, and I think he was the last straight white male to win a Best Male Oscar, playing another straight white male that history is now trying to cancel. So that's pretty cool, really, in my mind. Anyway,
right. Well, I have to say, for such a small country, I have so much respect for the British and their culture that so many amazing things came out of there. As an American, I truly do feel they're our cousins. I know that's pretty obvious, but culturally, definitely our cousins, the English. Because so many amazing things have come out of America, jazz, comic books, the internet. I mean, you name it, the list goes on. But I would say another country just like that is England. When you think of how tiny England is, and then how many great, amazing people and ideas have come out of there, it's really, really impressive. So I do think that you Londoners and you English people at large should be very proud of your heritage. That's one thing we Americans have no problem with, being proud of our culture. And you told me that where you live, they tell you to be ashamed of it, which I would just say, hell no.
There is a thing in England that, it's been in the media probably the last 10, 20 years, where it's like, there's this weird feeling of to be patriotic is to be racist. And it's very bizarre. Like people would be, because we have two different, I don't know if you guys know this, but we have the UK flag, which is all of our flags amalgamated into one. But then Scotland has their own flag. Wales has their own flag. England has their own flag, and our flag traditionally is white with a red cross. It's the cross of St George, and it's what, if you ever watch England football team play, it's what they have on their tops. And there was this big thing that you couldn't fly the cross of St George because it was considered to be racist, and it was like, but that, and they were going, because it was the flag that was attached to the race riots in the 80s. It was like, no, it wasn't. It had nothing to do with race riots in the 80s. When I think of the cross of St George, I just think of football, to be honest with you. And people football.
Well, I would say this, even if those idiots are right and it was attached to the race riots of the 80s, let's say they're right. You know what it was attached to for hundreds of years before that, much more promptly? It was attached to England way before that. So forget it if it was attached to something else for 2 months. You know, that's ridiculous.
It's insane. So I do think there is this weird thing about but there is also a lot of people that are very proud of it. And I think that there's a lot of people that are very proud. I'm very proud to be from here. And, you know, like I say, I've got such a diverse background in my family. But I also feel that England's got a really interesting history in the fact of, we always talk about, you know, there's the American War of Independence and the fact that America was a colony of Britain and so on and so forth. But what people don't actually realise, they always refer to like the Pilgrim Fathers and all that stuff, and, you know, the Mayflower and da-da-da-da. But the truth of it is, one little tiny thing, if one of our kings hadn't have divorced one of his queens, you wouldn't be speaking English now. And that's the truth of it. That's a divorce is why we speak the same language. That's because cool. If Henry VIII hadn't have divorced Catherine of Aragon to marry Anne Boleyn, which created the Church of England, which was like the Protestant side after that took away from the Catholic side, and then the Protestants became really puritanical. They became, in Elizabeth I's reign, so his daughter, they became too much for her, that they were too extreme. She literally said, I tell you what, there's this newfound place called New England, and I want you to go to Virginia, and I want you to, you know, stake this place for me. She sent them to America because she didn't know how to meet their religious needs, and they took the language and they flourished. And that's actually how it was. If one king hadn't divorced one queen, which caused this split with the church, which then caused migration your way, we wouldn't be speaking the same language.
I love that we got a history lesson.
There you go. There you go. Wow.
Awesome.
We've been at it for about an hour. So is there anything you want to, we've been focusing on England so much. Is there anything you want to ask us about the States before we go? And we'll check on the chat. Minnie's going to check on the chat too.
Are you tired of being asked questions about the state? I mean, about English?
You know what? You very kindly had me on your channel, so I was like, anything they want to ask me, they can ask me. I'm sure if you were to come over to mine, which you're more than welcome to, you would, you know, I'd be asking you question after question after question, because it's what you do. So
cool.
I really don't mind. To be honest, I just love talking and getting to know people, and I do feel without CG, this is another thing why to me it's so much more than comics. Without CG during COVID, I don't know how sane I would have stayed, because there was the streams, there was people you could communicate with. The guys that I stream on a regular basis with, we were just doing Zoom hangout chats because we couldn't leave our houses and we were the only contact, you know. If the comics suddenly stop tomorrow, which I know they won't because we're bringing out great things all the time, but if the comics just stop tomorrow, we'd all still have the communications and the friendships that we've made, because they are more than just what we're producing on paper. They're actually what we really want to have in real life. And I think that's really important.
I love that. That was so sweet. I made a new friend, Dad. Okay. Another girl in CG, finally. No. But yeah. I mean, it makes me happy. There's lots of cool guys, but it's just nice to have a lady. It's like doing stand-up. It's just a bunch of guys, and there's like 3 ladies, and then one of them's always shy, so you have to like peel the onion layers of the friendship.
I'm not shy. I'm not shy
either. I can't shut up.
You could literally drop me in the middle of a room of people I didn't know, and I would know their names by the end of the night. I don't do shy. I don't see
the exact same. Yeah, I whatever I end up doing, I know I'm gonna do stand up, but like I think that's why God put me on the earth, because I can't shut up. I just like to talk. So
well, yeah. I've done this here because I handle it for fulfillment, but I'm pretty sure that it might hang around. If I keep talking too much, then my husband might actually start using it to take my mouth up sometimes. So we'll leave it here just in case it's needed. You know,
that's how he takes you off the chat. He just starts wrapping it around you.
All right, that's how we know it's over.
Oh, okay.
He's like the Sandman on the Apollo. There was an American show, Charlie, like an open mic singing, dancing, comedy at the famous Apollo Theater in New York City. And if you came out and the crowd is brutal, they boo, they hiss, they yell, they make fun. And if you've got 5 seconds to get the crowd clapping with your voice, your joke, whatever, and if you don't get the crowd going, the Sandman comes out with a giant wooden hook and pulls you off the stage. It's amazing. I used to watch it with my dad, and we would laugh at the people getting pulled off stage.
I've seen that. I've seen that.
You've seen it? Okay, yeah, it's pretty famous. Sandman on. It's showtime.
In fact, I do know what it's like, though. You're referring to your tumbleweed moment with the joke not hitting the floor. So I often try to crack jokes with the kids because, you know, sometimes what we study is really heavy going. So they was looking at the Treaty of Versailles to do with the end of the First World War. And I said to them, right, you have to explain what's going on. And we're trying to get them to do it in little short, sharp passages so they get their information in and it's really concise. So I said, right, you're going to do this now, but you've got to do it in less than 3 sentences. And I wanted them to do it as a tweet. So me thinking I was really funny, and I don't know where I got this from, I called the activity the Tweety of Versailles. None of them laughed at it. They just looked at it and went, Miss, why are you doing that? That's really bad. Like, that's so bad, we're not going to laugh at it. And I was like,
oh.
I was like this. I was like, I can't believe that. I thought that joke was great. I was really proud of myself, and you've just now ruined it. A group of 11-year-olds have ruined my dream.
Tough crowd.
That was it.
Oh, I love that. I love when I'm confident in a joke and it just falls flat, or like I did one the other day. I was doing impersonations and it was just dead silent, and I was like, oh, I feel naked up here. So it's a bad feeling, but it's part of it.
Yeah.
But yeah. All right, so we're gonna end soon. Guys, go ahead and check out Charlie's channel. Make sure you guys back my dad's book. Do what you can. Mm-hmm. We really appreciate it. It means so much to us. I think we're over 20,000 right now. If any of you are in San Diego, message me on Instagram. I'm not famous yet, so I can see my DMs. And I can take you to my show. It'll be fun. But yeah, you guys have anything to say? It was so nice chatting with you, Charlie. I'm so excited to have another girl in CG. So
listen, seriously, like if you're on Twitter, follow me. I'll follow you on Instagram. I'll find you on Instagram. That sounded a bit more threatening than it was meant to.
I'll find you. I'll find you. Lot.
You don't been found.
I will find you, and I will shank you in it. Seriously. But yeah, no, it's lovely. Anytime you want to come and have a chat, either of you. Yeah, I know. See, that's kind of how they made me feel. Except I can't leave the classroom, so they were
yeah, he threw the tomato. He threw the rotten tomato.
But yeah, anytime you want to come on, Gabe, you are more than welcome back again. We had such a blast last time, you know, and I promised you, like when your campaign was live, we were going to do this, so we're going to do this.
Yeah,
for sure. Yeah.
Okay, well, come on back anytime, Charlie. It was great having you.
You were our first real guest.
Look at me in the dark, all spooky.
I know.
I color comic books with really dark rooms so I can make sure the colors are true. That's why I've been off camera the whole time. I've been working on Aaron Lopresti's Wraith of God. Please go back on my book. I'm going to dump that in the description there. You got anything you want people to know about Charlie before we go?
Just that my campaign is closing on the 28th of February. And then gonna have a bit of a break, make sure everyone's got their packages, make sure that, you know, because I want to have a good bit of break between, not only just to have a bit of a rest because it's been quite heavy going, but also in case, you know what it's like. You don't want to launch a mailing list for something else and then people are still not got their books because they've been lost in the mail. I want to make sure that's all nice and done. And then I'm going to launch the mailing list on the 16th of April for the second book. And then I'm going to launch the second book on the 8th of May. Now, as you launched on President's Day, and I know that was really important to you because it was so important to the story that you've got for your book. I launched my first one on the 16th of October, which was the actual date that the book starts. Like the first scene in the book is on that date.
Oh, that's cool.
And then book 2 I'm launching the mailing list on the 16th of April, which really it's actually Chaplin's birthday. But because this book concentrates with his war years, so between 1917 to 1941, it's like the in-between bit. I'm launching it on the 8th of May, which is VE Day. So it made sense to me to actually have that like nice little bit of a connection. So Charlie Chaplin Museum Bookstore stream, when they start selling it, Charlie, I'd love to, but it means going to Switzerland and doing it. So I don't know how I'm going to be able to do that, but I will go to Switzerland when they do a book launch and they get the book in their shops, and I will be more than happy to show everybody that off. That's probably going to be conversation I was having with them last is probably going to be about May. Book one's going to end up in there because, like I say, I don't want any overlap. I don't want a single backer that hasn't got their book to suddenly see some tweet on the internet that these books are in the shops. That's not happening. So I want to make sure there's enough space between. So yeah, that's what it's going to be. I think book one is going to go in bookshops when book two launches to make it, a bit of continuity.
Okay.
Well, that sounds great. Okay, guys, we're going to get out of here. I'm going to get back to work. And thanks again for joining us, Charlie. It was fantastic. Okay, we'll talk to you guys later. Bye.
Bye, guys.